Hello friends. So today's video, I want to actually talk to you about my story. And the reason that I'm deciding to tell my story, I'm 37 years old, and after all of this time, I've been on YouTube for a while. I want to tell my story is because I'm trying to get used to telling it. Every time I tell this story, I feel like I release a little bit of guilt and I release a little more shame, and that opens me up to be able to just get back to living a healthier life. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my story because, to be honest, I'm really tired of it suffocating me. It keeping me stuck in a box. And I decided that going forward, I'm going to talk about it until I'm no longer ashamed of it. And I don't care who it hurts. I don't care who feels bad about me telling the story, because at the end of the day, I am telling my story so that I can heal myself. Okay, so I got my phone here for some notes because a lot of this is centered around a post that I posted a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago. Actually, let me find said post. All right, so this was somebody else's post, actually, and I left a comment on it. And the post is this woman, she's like it looked like she's getting ready to leave the house. And so she's going to the knock on the door. Her husband, I guess, is maybe in the bathroom or something. And she kisses him and then she walks off. And it said, "I wasn't given a chance to be a daddy's girl, so now I'm a husband's girl." And then it says, "Where are my husband girls at?" And so I responded to this post, and I'm going to just read what I said specifically, because right now what I said about the post is up to right under 10,000 likes. So I just felt it in my spirit to comment on it because I felt that. Like, I think that I'm a husband's girl, and I'm so tired of being, told that I'm a pick me. I think that sometimes we can have, like, some of us do have men in our lives who have really made a difference and deserve everything they get. Okay, so I said my lease was up and I was accepted in a nursing school. I asked my dad to move in for nursing school. He said yes, but a week before I was due to move in, he lied and told me that he was moving to another city, Cleveland. So I couldn't move in. His wife at the time admitted that was a lie later. And I happened to be with my now husband at the time when she told me that. We had been dating for about 4 months. And I, after talking to her, was like really, really, really distraught at that conversation. Because I had already, and I said this, I had already been a homeless kid in high school, and it was really hard. And then I said, my now husband told me to put the phone down, wipe my tears, pack my bags because I was moving in with him. And he supported me through nursing school, and I'm still living with him now. 17 years later, I'm a husband's girl for real. Okay, I was just expressing myself, like I've been in therapy for the past couple years and been able to like process a lot of things that's happened to me in my life, and that just happened to be that piece of content kind of triggered me to like need to be in that space at that moment. And so yeah, little did I know that was gonna blow up. I started getting like messages from so many women. By the way, I appreciate y'all for sending me all of these messages about how you dealt with something similar. Also, sending me messages, sending me love, like going to my page, showing love on my page, telling me how proud y'all are of me, how I inspire you. I've even had students that I've trained over the years and mentored over the years who knew nothing about me send me messages like, "Oh my God, I wasn't even following you on Instagram, and I just happened to come across her post and I saw your comment and I clicked on your page and I'm like, oh my God, this is Miss Courtney." And that is what caused me to make my post telling my full story. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now I'm going to tell you now, this is the very abbreviated portion. If I was to sit down and actually tell you in detail this story, it will take me probably a month, okay? But I've been in therapy enough to be able to kind of step back from my life and see it from a bird's eye view, because I had to be able to do that, to self-correct, to grow, to make better choices, so that I don't keep getting into situations that traumatize the hell out of me. So I did make a post, and if you don't follow me, I'll put my Instagram on this page, on this screen somewhere, so that you can go and check out the post. But the post that I put up, it says, a comment I left on someone else's page got 8,000 plus likes and brought many new people to my page, and here's the story behind it. Now, I'm not going to sit and read this post verbatim to you. You can go and check it out if you want to, but I am going to use it as a guide to keep me from rambling. So the core of this story starts when I was 16 years old, because when I was 16, I grew up in the neighborhood, gang infested neighborhood. Honestly, the neighborhood, you probably know it to this day. I grew up in A-Leaf, Texas. I mean, there's plenty of rap songs. There's plenty of documentaries about A-Leaf. There's plenty of documentaries about that. I lived on Forum Park and Spice Lane. And both of those streets are like notoriously crime-ridden, drug-infested, gang-infested, okay? Well, I'm in high school. I'm 16 years old, and there was a domestic violence incident that happened at my school, and it happened with some people that I don't even know. They were very popular, let me just say that, and very intertwined into the culture and maybe into gang life. And the guy apparently was caught cheating. They were a couple, and he was caught cheating. And what ended up happening is he shot and killed his girlfriend, and he killed himself. The woman that he was cheating with, or he was caught cheating with, her name was Courtney. My name, okay? And all I remember the day that happened is when I got to school that morning, like, a lot of people was coming up to me about that incident and telling me that people was looking for me, that like they was gonna kill me. There was death threats, and that I remember just like my heart dropping, because I was like, what? I don't even know them, you know what I'm saying? So I just was immediately like, what the fuck? It just was a kind of rough day for me at school that day. I kind of like sneaked around a little bit here and there to get by to the end of the day. I had a conversation with my friends, and you know, they knew I wasn't like, that wasn't the type of time that I was on. So, you know, it just, I don't remember much about the day at school. I just remember that, like, having a conversation with my friend and, you know, a couple of my friends, Reese and Ladarius, and I was just like, yo, that's crazy. No, it wasn't me. And my friend Ladarius, who I'm still friends with at the, you know, to this day, but I haven't talked to him in a while, but I still love him. He was like, you know what? You could take my cell phone, you know, to make sure that, like, if anything happened to you, you can call the police, or you can call us on your way home. This was at the end of the day. So before I go back into like that particular day, I'm gonna fast forward a bit and tell you about like how I grew up. So I grew up in a single parent home with my mama. And, you know, my mama, what I remember now, we did have like, well, we had our own place at the time, but whenever it was me and my mama, like by ourselves, I experienced a lot of like verbal and physical abuse. My mama would beat me. I mean, and it wasn't no secret, because like even before now, when I had conversations with my cousins about like growing up, they'd be like, Courtney, we used to really feel bad for you. Like, we used to really feel bad for you, because like my mama would beat my ass, okay? She was also very verbally abusive. Like, some of the things that she said to me then, like, I'm still dealing with that shit today. Like, for example, like one of the things that like constantly I think about, like I play it in my brain, I hear it in my brain. I'm 37 years old, right? This is before I was 16. I grew up with her saying this to me, but she would get really upset with me, and she would call me a black butter tooth. And hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that on YouTube, but I know that one really fucked with me because like I still to this day deal with that insecurity. Like sometimes like my husband will be like, girl, your toothbrush look like worn out. Why you brush your teeth so hard? Like, and it's because I've been doing it for years, because like since a little girl I've been growing up like scrubbing the shit out of my teeth because like I didn't want to have butter teeth. Anyway, and also to add a more complexity to the situation, she was a Jehovah's Witness. She was baptized, so yeah, she is in fact a Jehovah's Witness, and because of that I was not allowed to have relationships outside of the Kingdom Hall. Okay, so like I had a cell phone around that time, but it was locked. And some of y'all parents might know this setting, but the way it works is like you cannot save a number to the phone unless you have the password. And nobody can call or text that phone if they're not saved in the phone. And I never knew the code. So the phone had very few people in it, like her, you know, some people from the Kingdom Hall that she wanted me to have relationships with, but I couldn't talk to nobody. So that's one of the reasons that my friend had ended up giving me his cell phone, because they already knew like that this is what I was dealing with at home. I didn't confide in a lot of people about this, but like I would every now. What it was that like when I navigated through high school, I was cool with a lot of people, but I kept a distance, like a wall, because I knew that friendship could only go so far. You get what I'm saying? Like because of that. And I was didn't want to tell a lot of people, but I would tell people who got close enough to me that I felt like they wanted to be in my life in that way. I would tell them like, you know, I'm okay with being friends with you, but you cannot call me. Only I can call you. I cannot call you all the time. Mainly we will talk at school. I will write my friends a lot of letters and communicate with them via letters at school. But like there was no ability to really talk on the phone. So when the death threats started at the school, like I said, my friend Ladarius gave me his phone. And I remember like having the phone, and it was like an older flip phone. Like when you plug it in to charge, it has like a light on it. And I had it plugged up charging, and I kind of had it like under my pillow. And my mama, there was no such thing as privacy either because of the Jehovah's Witness thing. Like she just always went through my shit. I couldn't have no diary. I really did like to write. It's funny because I'm an author today, but like I loved to write when I was young. I used to love to write poetry, and like I've always been very creative and expressive, and I kind of just stopped because like I just had no privacy and no way to process things. So, you know, that day she come in the room and she's doing like her normal check, going through my shit, you know, and she found the phone. And she kept asking me who phone it was, and like I was like, it's my friend. And she took the phone and she walked out the room. My mama was like also like a person who, whenever she would get upset with me, like, or she would get upset with me, or I would do something, like she would always call somebody immediately, like all of her friends, and she would talk so bad about me, like I was a bad kid, and like I was doing this, or I was doing that, and you know. And then it was kind of weird too, because like then in the same token, I was like her bragging person too. So like when she wanted to one up her friends, she would use me to brag, but then she would also tear me down. So like this particular night, she took the phone, she was on the phone with somebody, I don't even remember who it was, and she's like talking about me, and then she like, hold on, let me call you back. And then she takes the phone, and then she calls her phone from the phone, and then she calls the phone back, and it's my friend Ladarius on his own voicemail. And she flipped. Okay, she flipped. It just ended up getting really, really bad. Like she ended up telling me like that night, like she feel like I'm not gonna be no hoe in her house, and this and that or the third, and like it ended up escalating to the point where she put me out. I'm 16 years old, and this was like at 10-11 o'clock at night. And so, you know, she was on the phone with somebody. I wish I knew who it was, and that's important. In a little bit, I'll tell you why. But I wish I knew who she was on the phone talking to as she was putting me out. But I don't. But anyway, she puts me out. And as I'm like going into my closet to try to get my stuff, which, I had a lot of clothes, a lot of stuff, like, although my mama was physically and emotionally and verbally abusive, like, she would do things to, like I said, I was like her bragging thing too, so it was weird. So like, I actually, like, lived in New York for a while and California, and did some modeling. When I was a child, I was a childhood model, and so I was a kid model. And so I had a lot of like stuff from like my travels and stuff that I wanted to take. And I went in my closet to try to like pack. And she's like, you don't take shit out this house but what you can pack in your hand, and don't take shit that I bought you. And I'm like, okay. So I grabbed a bag, one set of clothes and all of my books for school, because that's all I can take. And I had a car at the time. She made me leave my car keys. And I took my book bags, crying, walking down the steps. I walked out the apartments, up the street. It was a payphone up there, and I had like some money to, call my friend. And I knew his number by heart, my friend Reese. Because he was one of my friends that I used to talk to, like at nighttime. I used to sneak and talk to him on the phone. I had like a way to be able to talk to some friends, but it was only friends that I was able to tell what was going on. They were more understanding, and so we were able to get on the phone. They like, okay, in order for me to call you, you got to do this and like whatever. So I knew his number. I called him at the payphone and I told him what happened, and he was pissed off. Like, he was like, man, what the fuck? Like, you can come here and stay here, but he didn't have no car. So he's like, if you can get here, you can come here. Like, and I'm like, are you going to talk to your mom? And he's like, she going to say yeah, but I'm finna go tell her right now. And you go ahead and come on, start making your way over here. And I'm like, okay. So he gives me his address, and I ended up calling my friend who had gave me his phone, Ladarius, and he actually had a car. And I told him what happened, and he was like, I'm finna come pick you up. So he drove from Missouri City to Southwest Houston, because he was staying in Mo City at the time. And I waited at that payphone that night, and he came pick me up, and he took me over to Reese's house. And it was really late that night, so like, I didn't get a chance to talk to Reese's mama that night, but I went in Reese's room and with Ladarius, and we talked about what happened. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I was really close with Reese. Like, we were friends, but Reese was new to the school at the time, and we were developing a friendship, but like, I don't feel like we was like close enough to be to the point of like, well, maybe we was close enough to be to the point of like hanging out at each other's house, but like, that's just never how I grew up. Like, I wasn't really allowed to do that. So like, that night when I was at his house, it just was a real out of body experience for me. Like, I'm somewhere, like, it's a new environment, I'm traumatized already, and I'm just like, I'm really about to sleep at somebody's house. This feels like, and I remember like feeling kind of like scared when my friend Ladarius left. Not scared that anybody was gonna do nothing to me, but just like it got real, like, it got real, like, this is really real. That's how it felt. But anyway, I ended up going to sleep that night, went to school the next morning, and then I ended up, like, my friend Reese, he had a job working at HEB, and so he was like, when you go to the house, just go in there and talk to mom, because she want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And I went in there and I talked to Monet, and Reese's mama name is Monet. So she asked me like what happened, and I told her, but I don't know if I got a chance to tell her like the full details of like me coming up, but I told her what happened that day. And I was honest with her. Like, I don't think I told her like the death threats, but I was like telling her like that I had Darius's phone, and my mama found it. She got pissed off and thought, it was something that it wasn't, and she put me out. And she was just like, okay. And she was like, well, you can stay here, but you need to graduate. I'm not playing that, and you be in the house by, like, I think she gave me a curfew at like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, 10 o'clock? Girl, I can't even go outside in my mama's house. I'm gonna be back in this mug after I get off work at 6, okay? So, I immediately was like relieved, after that conversation, because I was just like, I felt saved. Like, whew, I'm out of that situation. Like, I'm gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be okay. And I ended up still going to high school. You know, I would wear like Monet's clothes sometimes, or Reese clothes. And I had a friend also. I trusted her enough to tell her what was going on. Her name was Kia. So I ended up telling Kia, and between Kia, Ladarius, Reese, they made sure I got to school. They made sure I had a place to stay. Kia's parents cooked for me. This is really a hard story for me to tell, because I'm about to start crying because of the way it made me feel during that time. It was a really tough time, but I appreciate my friends to this day. But anyway, I remember, and I also was dating a guy a little bit later after that, and he also made sure that I got to school and got around and stuff like that too. That was a whole nother story, because I spent a lot of time during that time trying to not be a bother, to not be a burden to people. So I moved around a lot. I would sleep at Kia house sometimes. I would sleep at Reese house, or I would sleep at my boyfriend's house, which that was also scary, because he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with him and his dad, and it just was these situations that I never experienced. But I am grateful for everybody that was in my life at that time, because whether they realized the impact that they had on me, they made sure that I got through. But anyway, I remember my mom, she slandered me that night, so I kind of felt bad about reaching out. But the next day I asked my friend Kia to take me to my aunt's house, and it could have been a few days later, and she took me to my aunt's house, and I was there talking to my cousins and them, and trying to explain to them what was going on. And my mama pulled up, and in my car, by the way, she pulls up in my car, and she acts a goddamn fool at my auntie house so bad, to the point that I had to leave with my friend. You know what I'm saying? My friend was kind of like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck? Girl, this is what you've been dealing with. And when I was there, I remember I had actually took one purse, right, with me. It was a little Coach bag that I had, and she acted a fool and took the Coach bag from me. You don't get to have shit that I bought for you. And I left the Coach bag and left with my friend, and I remember my friend was just like, girl, come on, let's go home. And I went to my friend's house, and I swallowed it. I was really depressed in high school. I didn't go to prom and all that stuff, because I was worried about other shit, right? I'm worried about how I'm gonna make it. Things had started happening a little bit after that. At the time when I was in high school, I was in advanced placement classes in high school, and then also I was in a co-op program, and I had a job at Shell Global Solutions, and my supervisor, her name was Elaine Bell. She's a black woman, and I remember even interviewing for her. My teacher, Miss McCree, I think her name was Miss McCree, ended up telling me that this lady had never really hired any of her students before. She was a really hard lady to impress. And I went to interview with this woman and landed the job, and I was actually loving my job. Was learning so many skills there. My position there was administrative assistant, and I worked under a team of 50 engineers. She was also the admin support for this 50 engineers. So I helped her do stuff. If they were having meetings, I ordered lunch and sent out polls for lunch, and made sure it got ordered from wherever we were gonna get lunch from, and just did I assisted her, and she worked really early hours, 5 to 2, so I would get out of school early and come and just be the support in the afternoon for the engineers who work late, and that kind of stuff. So Anyway, I remember one day going to work and I was thinking like everything was going to be okay. And my boss and the head engineer pulled me into the office and they were like, "Where are you staying?" And I'm like, I told them I was staying with a friend, and I was really shocked by the whole conversation. I'm like, you know, and they were like, your mom has been, the woman told me that my mama had been calling her, and my mama had already like slandered my name to them to the point they didn't even ask me. And one thing I noticed about, and I want to say about all the adults, because it took me until like I got with my husband to like really settle into this, but like I was a kid that was making good grades in advanced placement in co-op with a with a job at Shell Global Solutions. Like I didn't get into no shit like that, right? So I don't know why all of these adults immediately like took my mama's word for everything, but they did. And the head engineer was a white guy. I don't know if maybe he looked at me a certain way as a black. I don't even want to put color into it, to be honest, but I really do wonder why the adults just never actually asked me what happened in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and truly made space for me to talk about it, what was happening to me. But they told me like, look, you need to go home or you can say goodbye to the offer we gave you, because I was going to graduate soon and they had offered me a job after I graduated. And to be honest, like from the conversation, I didn't tell them I wasn't going to go home. I just was like, damn, like now there go my job. And that was the one thing I had at that time, my job. Okay, and I believe that my mama went after my job because she was truly trying to ruin my life. And I know for a fact she was trying to ruin my life, because up until in my 30s, my mama has done everything to ruin my life. Okay, she has definitely tried. And the more I succeed and the more I continue to rise out of concrete, like the more I like bobbed and weaved and kept going, the harder she tried to ruin my life. It just took me a while to like look at her as an enemy instead of my mama. And that's a lot of the reasons why I'm gonna talk about this, because I also as I continue to heal from this, I realized I protected her in so many ways. But anyway, back to the job at Shell. So I'm at Shell. I'm like sitting there like, man, I'm about to lose my job. So I didn't quit right away. I knew my contract end day. I still showed up for my job, still tried to get my check until the very last day, which by the last day of my contract, I didn't even get no offer. So I remember my very last day of work, I didn't have a ride to work. And my friend lived on an area where there was no bus route, and I didn't call anybody to take me to work that particular day because I just got tired of leaning on my friends, you know what I'm saying, for everything. And so I still had to lean on my friends, because I asked my friend little brother, could I drive his bike to work? And I rode on this busy highway 6. If you in Texas, if you in the Houston area, you know Highway 6. I rode a bike on the side of Highway 6. There's no sidewalks, all the way to work, miles to work. I rode that bike so goddamn hard, that baby's bike, the tires was flat by the time I got to work. And I parked the bike and I just cried. And then I went to work that day, and then I called my friend, because I couldn't get back home on the bike, and I didn't know what to do, and I have nobody else to call. So I called my friend Kia, and I asked her to come pick me up and take me back to take the bike and whatever. And she did. She came pick me up. We put the bike in the trunk, and she was like, baby girl, why you didn't call me? I would have brought you to work. And I just remember, I don't know, I just didn't want to be a burden on people. I still deal with that to this day, which is why I don't have a lot of close relationships to me, because I'm still healing from this, and I don't want to be a burden of continuing to tell this story over and over again, but I haven't quite healed from it yet. And people get tired of me talking about it. I can tell, even my therapist, I'll come back to that later. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, I lost my job thanks to my mama. Anyway, I didn't want to go home. I didn't feel safe at home. But I was very depressed, like out in the streets. And I was dating a guy at the time, and I remember like it was prom night, and I was like sad as fuck. I was so sad, like depressed. And like all of my friends were at prom, and I was just sitting there. And he was like, I'm gonna take you to go see your mama. And I was like, okay. And I went. He's like, I'm not gonna come to the door. I'm gonna sit right here. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna sit in the car. And, you know, you can come back out here when you're done. Like, because I didn't want to be dropped off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I just knew I was never going to be able to live with her again. And so I went and knocked on the door. She opened the door and she like, what the fuck you doing here? And I'm like, I just want to talk. And she's like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, skedaddle, get the fuck off my stairs. I have been triggered by that word skedaddle since. That shit hurt me. You know, it really, really, really hurt me. And I just spent like the rest of that time, like just, I remember coming back. Well, I walked back to the car. Let me get back to that particular day. I walked back to the car. I got in the car with my boyfriend at the time, and I just started crying. I went back to his house, and I was just like, I'm never going to talk to her again. And that's just where I thought it was going to be at that time. That's a whole nother story, but fast forward a couple months down the line, she calls my dad because she had already got me fired from my job. And later on, I found out she knew she did, even though she denies it. Because I said it to her one time to try to see if she would take accountability for that. Like, and it was in my 30s. So, like, much time had passed. And she told me, oh, I didn't call your job, which was bullshit. Because then later on, she came and said, I just called your job one day and your boss Elaine just said that you just didn't come back to work and they don't know what happened. It was just a load of bullshit. She got me fired. She got my, I consider it to be fired, but she got my offer rescinded on the basis that I didn't want to go back home to abuse. Okay, so my dad calls me. I can tell that the way my dad is talking to me when I talk to him, which is the first time that I talked to him in years. Okay, I can tell the way he was talking to me that she had already had put in his head that like I was on some bullshit. So my dad was kind of like hard with me when I first talked to him, like, you gonna come live with me? There's nothing you could do about it. And I think I might have said something to him like, I graduate in like a few months. So like this is my last semester of, you know, high school. Like, I don't want to go to another high school. And I'm with he came over to see like where my friend lived, and I brought him over to like the house where Reese and them lived. He saw the house and he's like, okay, the day you graduate, I'm coming to pick you up. I'm like, cool. He didn't ask me what happened before that day. I did eventually later kind of like had a chance to talk to him about it. And I don't think, to be honest, like, he made space for me to ever even talk about this. And to be honest, like, my dad is just not the person to make space. He's like, in my opinion, I feel very emotionally unavailable. And what's funny is that my brother grew up with my dad. I have a half brother, and like my brother would tell me that, like, yeah, he's present, but he wasn't there. Like, that's how my brother felt. And to be honest, I can understand like how my brother, why he feels that way, because like even to this day, and I guess I understand why my dad didn't ask questions then, because like I can come to my dad with something heavy now, and while he may say he loved me and like I can call him for anything, I don't feel like he knows how to make space for like emotion like that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, high school graduation come around, I move in. My dad comes to the high school graduation with his wife and to come pick me up. And like some of my family showed up at my high school graduation. I was really shocked to see them after all of that time, because I didn't end up going back to see them after that situation happened with my mama, because the way she clowned me in front of my auntie and them that day was so bad and nobody said anything that I was just like, I guess everybody think I'm like a fucking like Dennis the Menace or something, like a girl version of Dennis the Menace, or like a rebel child or something like that. So like nobody's gonna come save me. Nobody gonna come for me. I never changed my number either. Like I had that same phone number on my cell phone up until I was in nursing school in college, which was 832-283-9551. Okay. Nobody from my family called me. That's how my dad was able to reach me after all that time, because my number never changed. But nobody ever called me. And I had to sit with that shit for a while. Like, I just wonder, like, now I know the type of person I was dealing with when it came to my mama. Like, how somebody can, like, talk about you to other people and then they believe that character instead of coming to me. And I feel like that's what a lot of people in my family did. But anyway, including my dad in many ways, and his wife at the time. So anyway, I get over there and I move in, and immediately they on energy like this is a happy family. I just went through the most traumatic shit in my life. And like, I was not even allowed to grieve. Any moment of me having to grieve or like deal with the shit that I had been through, like, and trying to sit in that and trying to process that, or like being homesick, because like they lived like an hour or something away. So like, and they were very strict. You can't go nowhere. You got a curfew, you this and that, just like my mama, right? Little bit better, but still very strict. So like, I was extremely homesick. And just really still very much depressed from like everything that I was dealing with before. And like, it seemed like the more that I was like trying to process those kind of things, like I was pissing my daddy wife off. Like, because she didn't have children and she wanted to have this type of relationship. And I just don't think I had the capacity to be a daughter to anybody, because like I was like really trying to deal with a deep mother wound, and we just had a lot of tension because of that. And as a result, you know, it was a lot of tension with my dad. And I remember like my dad gave me a car, and I used to go and pick my brother up and take him to football practice and all that stuff, because he was still in high school. I was in college at the time, my first year of college. I was at ACC, Houston Community College, now called Houston City College. Okay, so I went to that college for my first year of college, and that was because my mama refused to provide financial aid. And the only way I was able to ever even get in college is because I have a hearing disability. It's progressive, so it gets worse over the years. And I had been getting assistance even when I was in high school. Like, I had hearing aids since I was a little child, but like, I had a case open through Texas Rehabilitation Commission is what it was called at the time, or Texas Workforce Commission, TWC, where they try to like accommodate you in whatever you need to be able to get to the workforce. And so I was able to get my first like counselor when I was in high school, and you know, they would like make sure I had good hearing aids and like development and stuff like that to be able to be successful in school, in high school, and also college, and even now in my career now. But anyway, yeah, she refused to do FAFSA for me so I can go to college, and I ended up having a counselor, and I told him what happened. I sat and told him everything. Mr. James Baldwin, if this video ever go like extremely viral and you see this video, I appreciate you, because like my mama used to beat me up and tell me that the only reason that I am who I am today is because she signed me up for that. But it was really because Mr. Baldwin was the only adult that listened to me. And it's because he had been around me since I was in high school, and I told him everything. And it's funny because he worked with my mama. My mama worked at this place for this company. She retired from this company. But he never went to her about it, but he knew something was up, because she used to come with me to the meetings, and I started coming by myself to see him. And I told him everything, and he was like, I'm gonna do everything I can within my job to make sure you can get where you need to be, because I told him like she wouldn't do the financial aid and all of that stuff. So anyway, I'm in college, doing stuff for my brother, like, picking him up and this and that and the third. And I'm meeting some of my family on my dad's side. And like, I meet 2 cousins. One of them is not here today. I miss her so much, Missy. But the other one, I'm not even going to mention. But we're having a conversation, and they tell me that my stepmom is like mocking me. Like, and I don't know them, by the way. I didn't grow up with them, you know what I'm saying? So like, them coming to tell me my business, I know it came from somewhere, okay? So they like, oh, you're not in the Southwest? When the next time you going to the Southwest? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, and then they was like, oh yeah, your stepmom was here the other day, and she was like talking about, oh, all you want to do is go to the Southwest. And it really pissed me off, because I felt like it was really insensitive. She was not even considerate about the fact of how I could have been feeling, like how I needed somebody like that was a norm for me at that point in my life. Like, I had completely been uprooted. I was in all of these situations that I had never been in before for like years at this point. And like, the one thing that I really wanted was my family that I grew up with, and I couldn't. Like, it was always a problem when I wanted to go see my family, like, and I guess she was complaining to them about it, and that shit, when they told me, pissed me off. I totally like ice walled her at that point. And like, my dad got pissed off at me about that, and I told him, like, he in private told, like, he's, how do you say it? Like, when a parent say to you, like, you could tell me I'm not gonna say nothing. He did that to me and kind of threatened me with that, and I went ahead and told him what my cousin said, and ended up biting me in the ass, because then he told her, and then they said that that's not true, and they said my cousins was lying, which to this day I know for a fact that my cousins was not lying, and that in fact she did say those things about me, and it did hurt me. And there was no accountability ever from her to this day, nor my dad, about that. But it is what it is. It just got really bad living there. So like, I started making an escape plan. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was able to tell him like a lot of the stuff that was going on. And even though I had lived with my boyfriend and his dad in high school. Okay, so the camera got overheated again because it's hot. But anyway, my dad was like not letting me see my boyfriend that I had been living with, okay? Because he was like, he need to come see and meet him first. And my boyfriend at the time had an attitude like, nigga, where you was at when she was living with me and my daddy? So if anybody need to come meet anybody, you need to come meet me. Which I kind of understand a little bit, but it was just like a tension there. My dad felt like he was controlling. He was actually right. But anyway, we had made this little plan that I was going to get the hell out of there. And I went to Mr. Baldwin. I told him like, I really need to be able to get away and like, stay on campus at a college. And I couldn't get in the college that I wanted to go to, ACC, because it was just way too expensive. So I ended up being able to go to Prairie View and get on campus, and they paid for a portion of it, and my dad did financial aid for me. And so I like quietly dipped off to go live on campus so that I can have like get away a little bit and like have some space to process and like just So like, to my roommates at Prairie View, I appreciate you, Rhonda. Like, you don't even understand the point in which you came into my life. Natalie, and y'all had a lot to do with like giving me the space to be able to at least come out and be myself in my own skin, because by that time I wore like a permanent mask, like, and I was able to kind of explore Courtney for the first time and have a little freedom. And just that, with that freedom came the ability to be able to like process some of the stuff that I've been through or whatever. And it gave me the space that I needed. So anyway, I go to college. I get me a job at Home Depot. That's where I meet my husband, my now husband. And I saw him the day I interviewed, by the way. I walked in and I saw him like running around working, and I was like, he wasn't looking at me at all. But I sure was walking back to the interview room like, who he fine, and he just like looked like somebody. He was cool, and I was like, I'm gonna have to, I hope I get a job so I can go say something to him, you know. So anyway, fast forward, I ended up, you know, living on campus, and then I got an apartment. After I got my job at Home Depot, I found a roommate, somebody that I work with. I ended up just saying like, hey, you looking for a roommate? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool, because I am too. You want to move in together? And so we did, okay? Because I needed my own space, right? And so got an apartment, got on my feet, and then I ended up getting accepted into nursing school. And I knew in nursing school because I had been going to like orientations for Prairie View Nursing School, and they was like, you're not gonna be able to work. So like I was in a bind and I ain't had nobody else. So I asked my dad, like I asked him, you know, could I move back in with him? And he was like, yeah. And I know something was kind of odd about it because like I had told him like maybe a year in advance, and every couple months I would like bring it up like, don't forget I'm moving here, and he'd be like, yeah, okay. And then like a couple weeks I reminded him again, and he told me he was moving to Cleveland, Texas. All right. And my school was in downtown Houston. So I'm like, I don't even know where Cleveland, Texas is, to be honest. But I'm like, damn, sound like I'm not going to be able to live there. And the conversation just kind of went like that. And I'm like, I didn't even think twice about it because by that time I was already in like, you got to get it mode. So I was like trying to figure out what I got to do. Like, what I need to do. I was in survival mode. I have a lot of time to even think about it or even take nothing personal, to be honest. I'm like, okay, well, him and his wife is doing what's best for them. But then, like, maybe a week after that, his wife sends me a text message basically, like, going off on me about how, like, she's disappointed in me that I chose to, I made the decision to not live with them, to go through school, even though it would have been the best possible thing, all because of her. And I'm sitting there reading the text message like, what the fuck is she talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought y'all moving to Cleveland. And she like, Cleveland? What are you talking about? And I just like sent her screenshots of like the conversation with me and my dad, because you know, me and my dad, we have like a text relationship. Like we text each other, rarely call, and it's a lot of reasons why our relationship is like that. And one of the big reasons now is like, I don't actually feel comfortable talking on the phone to my daddy all the time. Like, and I'm trying to work on that, but I also am no longer blaming myself for that either. You know, it just kind of is what it is. I'm at this place now where I accept things for what they are. So anyway, I sent her the text message that worked in my favor that day. And she called, and then after that, she's like, you know, I don't know what this is. I didn't hear nothing about Cleveland, but I'm going to talk to your dad, and I'm going to call you back. And she ended up calling me back, and she admitted to me that that was a lie. And she told me I need to talk to my dad. And that shit hurt me. It really did. And I was actually at my husband's house. We was dating, like we had got to the point of dating at that time, okay? And I was distraught, so I started crying, and I told him what happened, because up until then I don't think he really knew nothing about me or that whole entire situation. Like, one thing about me, I'm not no victim, so I don't lead with this kind of stuff when I meet people. Like, I really try to like deal with this stuff in therapy, because I know like people don't have the capacity to deal with my shit, and everybody got their own stuff that they're going through, and I've been through a lot where people just don't hold space for me. So I just kind of learned to deal with it on my own. And so I ended up telling him like that part. And I was crying, and he was like, okay, put the phone down, and basically, like, he's like, you're gonna be okay, like, wipe your tears and go home and pack your stuff, and you can move it in here. I'm finna clean my closet out right now so you can have some space. And he's like, I'm gonna throw my bed away, you can bring your furniture over here, you can move into my house. And that's what I did. I moved in with him, and I've been with my husband ever since. That's where the post came from. Okay, that's why I said that I'm a husband's girl, because, like, I mean, I lived with him. He worked. I didn't. He bought me food. He took care of me. And my car didn't work. He drove. I was in his shit to go to school and nursing school, driving up and down the highways. He sacrificed a lot for me to end up being where I am today. And I've been with him since. I even was like feeling so obligated, like I need to hurry up and like pass nursing school so I can get the hell out of it, like get in some independence, so like we can have a base of like where he don't have to be saving me, and like we can make a conscious effort to choose each other. And he did, he chose me. But at that time, I feel like I was just going through life. 1 second, I'm about to change the battery. Anyway, I remember failing like PD and OB in nursing school, and then I also had to take like a semester off in nursing school, and I was like, man, I just felt so much pressure to like pass nursing school, because like it was like a lifeline for me. I lost a lot of relationships too, like friendships. I had a really good friend that I thought we were close. I'm not gonna say her name. We went to high school together, and I had even kind of confided in her and like some of the stuff that I was going through. And there was one time like I had failed the first attempt at doing my exit exam, and it was my birthday, I think, like, because the exit exam kind of happened. I found out I failed like around my birthday, and she wanted to hang out and go to the clubs. Like we was like clubbing friends or whatever. And I remember her being like, oh, you want to hang out? And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna hang out like that. But I don't remember what happened that particular day, but like I remember like studying all day long, and then I was like so hungry, but I couldn't cook, so I ended up going to Cheddar's. And I want to say that when I went to Cheddar's, my roommate ended up showing up. So my roommate, of course, we lived together, so she like was there, and we sat by each other, ended up having dinner or something like that. And then somebody else saw us, because this is like a Cheddar's that's close to my college, okay? So like it was like that kind of spot, okay? And I lived in the area, so like I can't remember if somebody saw us or she pulled up at the restaurant herself, but she stopped talking to me because like I didn't want to hang out that day, and we don't talk to this day. And to be honest, I felt really bad for years about that. But now at my big grown age, I don't give a fuck, because like I needed to do what I had to do, and I need people in my life, and I needed people in my life to like give me grace so that I can have security and safety and provide that for myself. And I to this day feel like she was selfish, and she might feel like I was selfish, and I'm okay with that. But anyway, yeah, so I was just losing relationships because I was like in this crazy survival mode. And I share all of this because that's me breaking that post down as a whole, okay? Like that's when I'm talking about the Instagram post, everything that I talked about on that post, except with more detail here. And that was the first time for a lot of people to hear that story like that. And to be honest, I can understand, because it took me years of therapy to like piece together all of this trauma that was happening to me simultaneously and tell you this story, okay? It's taken me a long time to unpack this trauma. But I feel like it's necessary for me to talk about it and constantly talk about it. I didn't talk about it for years because I wanted to protect my mom. I wanted to protect my dad. I wanted to protect people. And I am just not in that space no more because they all failed me, to be honest. And none of them are ready to have a true conversation about it. And for years, I just been holding that on my heart. And then I realized after I posted that, unintentionally, the response that I got, like, nah, I gotta talk about this. Like, I've been through some shit. And my testimony will probably help a little girl out there who maybe want to kill herself, suicidal, dealing with mental health issues, anxiety. I mean, I was riddled with all kind of stuff. Like, I had a panic attack one day in college because I had went up to the school and the school was closed down. Like, I think I got the dates mixed up because I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I missed the date to sign up for the classes I needed for that semester, which meant I would have had to sit off another semester. And as I was running around the campus in the Texas heat, it dawned on me, like, girl, you might have to sit this semester off. And I had a panic attack, okay? Survival mode panic attack. That was my very first one. I didn't know what happened to me. I thought I had a heart attack. I didn't find out until years later when I became a nurse, like, damn, girl, that was your first panic attack and you didn't even recognize that, you know? But if you've been through something like me, a lot of people look at me and they feel like I carry it well. And that's what it looked like from the outside. But this trauma has ruined every relationship that I had except the one with my husband. And I just hope that it don't ruin that one. It has really messed me up. And I can only imagine somebody else going through that or even worse things, like, and just feeling like, what the fuck am I trying for? And I just want to tell you this. I know for a fact that you might have been dealt a shitty hand. I had been too. Like, and in many ways, that I'm 37 years old now and I'm able to process it. And I'm like, that had to happen to me. Like, all of that happened for me, because had it not, I wouldn't have been able to experience some of the most beautiful things that I've experienced. I moved on the other side of the world for years and was able to disconnect with what my life was before and build something new. And I probably wouldn't have done that if I wasn't so neglected as a child. You know what I'm saying? I probably wouldn't have never moved if I wasn't a neglected child, running away, looking for something, lost. I probably would have never experienced that. And that was one of the best experiences of my life, because I learned what family was. I had something traumatic happen to me when I was overseas that not many people know about. I didn't even talk about it. Maybe one day I'll talk about it with y'all, because I feel like it's something that I should. But something very traumatic happened, and I met some friends that I had just met. And I ended up, like, me and Anthony ended up confiding in the friends, and they pulled up. I mean, it was no, like, it wasn't no thought. It wasn't no, Courtney's too much. It wasn't none of that, because that's the shit that I get from, like, a lot of people in my life. That's a whole nother story too, because I haven't talked a lot about other people. I'm telling y'all about my experience. And, like, and at that time, like I said, I could talk about this forever. But anyway, they pulled up for me, like, no questions. They like, oh, we packing our bags. And they stayed for like a week, took care of me, loved me, made space for me. These people who were strangers, and also taught me so much. They taught me so much. And to this day, that's who I consider my family. And I don't feel that loneliness no more when it comes to, like, family, because, like, I know now as an adult, like, I can choose. When I get, like, now I'm at the age where I can choose family. I can choose what to take those trash ass experiences that I had and turn them into. Like, I get a choice to choose that. And I want to tell you that if you were dealt a shitty hand, that time is going to come for you. You may not see it now, but one day it's going to turn into something real beautiful. And you're going to be able to look back just like I do now and be like, that's why I had to go through that. So that I can appreciate what I have right now. Okay? So, like I said on the post, I'm going to read it directly from the post. I said, eventually, beauty grew from all that pain, and it will for you too. You just have to keep looking forward to see it. You can't keep looking back. Okay? I think that the reason that I even still have relationships with some of the people I do is because I wash my hands of the past when it comes to them. Of course, I deal with my own stuff, like, because I have to keep moving forward. So I have to deal with what I can control. But what I've learned at my big age of 37 is that I can't control other people. I cannot make them take accountability for the shit that they did. I cannot make anybody see my perspective. I can't make anybody see me differently than what maybe my mama told them about me. I can't make any of that happen. But what I do have the ability to control is me. And I have the ability to nurture is me. And I have the ability to grow from the experiences that I've been through. Okay? And you do too. So, y'all, I hope if you really did sit through this whole entire thing and listen to my story, please let me know. Like, leave me a comment, and just let me know. There's a lot of content that I want to put out about this scenario, like, because I had people ask me questions. Let me go back to that post. There's questions, like, from people, and people would send me things. They want to know, like, do you still talk to your dad? You know, so many people have asked me certain things, but I talk to my dad. I do not talk to my mom. We are estranged. I did come back home to America because while I was overseas, she was calling me every day talking about somebody who was living in her attic, and I can tell she was not well mentally. So my husband and I moved back, and we thought that staying with her would help it better, and that was a complete catastrophe. I would love to tell that story. So if you got this far and you feel like you want to know more, if you feel like you need insight on how to move past being estranged from somebody like your mom or your dad or anybody, because I was estranged from my dad for a little bit, but we definitely, like, moved past that. But if you need tips on how to deal with estrangement, I want to talk about stuff like that, because it was hard for me to find resources about stuff like that, and I've come a long way. I'm proud of myself, and I don't mind sharing it if it will help you. So anyway, share this video, like, comment, please. Don't forget to subscribe. I am very, very close to 500 subscribers, less than 100 subscribers needed before I reach 500. And I'm working really hard to get my 4,000 watch hours so that I can have an additional stream of income to be able to support myself. If you want to support me in that, please subscribe. Please watch my videos. That lets me know that you want to see more from me and gives me the space. It could also give me the space too to be able to pour into this page for somebody who might need it. But I have used all of the memory on my camera, and I don't want to use all the diesel in the truck. So I pray y'all have a beautiful day, and mwah.